Hello. In this video, we are going to talk about void functions. This is Unit 6, Lesson 2. We are talking about functions. Okay, so we are going to try and step through code and see what functions do, how it all works. Okay, void functions. You've already seen an intro to functions in the previous lesson. So now we are going to take a look at how code actually executes. And here's a little note at the bottom. If you look, this is throughout this course, you will see functions and variables named foo, bar, and so on. These terms are commonly used as placeholder names in computer programming or computer-related documentation. They do not really have any meaning. They are just used to, demonstrate a concept. So we have some example functions. We will call them foo and bar. So there's no need to be confused about what a foo is, what a bar is. Just look at them as function names. Okay. All right. So we are looking at this example. And this is an animation, if you will, of how function works. So we're going to just step through this. And in fact, this is going to do an animation, and I'm going to kind of explain as it goes through where the program starts. Okay. So if you notice here, we have steps, and we are right in the beginning, step 1 of 19. And your cursor, the next line to execute is the red arrow sitting on line 1. And I'm going to click next, and it creates the frame for this function. Notice it didn't do any executing. It simply jumped from def main down to def foo, and now we have a global frame on the right hand side. Look here, for main, for function main. Then I hit next. There will be a frame created for foo, for function foo. Then it jumps to bar. I hit next, and there's another frame created for bar. So the functions are all ready. So when we call them, it can go to the function and do whatever it needs to do. So execution really starts on line 13, where there's a function call for main. This is how we call the function. We just type in the name followed by the empty parenthesis. Or when we get to it, we'll see that if there's something that goes inside the parenthesis, we can put that. Right now, these are void functions, which means they don't take anything, no parameters. Okay, hit next, and control jumps to the main function, which is on line 1. Now it is actually going to step through the function. So it is on line 2. We have a print statement. It says in function main. It's just a print to the console. Here's the print output. It's going to come here in this little box. All it says is I'm just going to print something for the user to see. That's all a print statement is, nothing more. So if I hit next, it's going to output a message for the user to see what the computer is doing. So it's a visual for us. It says in function main. Okay. So then I'm going to hit next. Notice it's on line 3. I'm calling this function called foo. Where do you think it's going to go? Where is foo? On line 7. So control should jump to line 7. Let's see. Hit next. There you go. It goes to line 7. And in line 7 is the function definition. And where is it going to go? Into line 8, where it is going to again print a message for our benefit, saying it is in function foo, because that's the message I put in there. And notice down here it says return values from the function. It says none because I don't return anything. There is no return statement. Notice the function, the control itself will return. Where will it go back? Where it left off, after line 3. In fact, at the end of line 3. Okay, because that's where we came from. So we hit next. Control goes to line 4 because after calling foo on line 3, there's nothing else for it to do. And notice our print box here says 2 messages now. Now I'm calling the function bar. It should jump to line 10. So there we go. Control jumps to line 10. Then it will go to 11, where it will print another message for me. Again, the print is just a visual for you and me, because if we don't have a print, we won't know what's happening. It will keep doing all these things. You and I just want to know that it's going into each one of these functions. So the print statement is essentially information for us to just see what is going on. So there is that. It says in function bar, and it already tells me I have nothing to return, so the return value is none. But control will go back to line 4. After 4, it should jump to line 5. So there we are on line 5. We call foo again. So it's going to go back to that function. You can call a function as many times as you want. Every time you call it, it's going to go into that function. And do whatever you tell it to in that function. So I go back to line 7. I execute line 8. And there we go. I have another message now that says and function foo. Because that's what it does. Every time it goes into the function, it prints the message because that's what I'm telling it to do. And return value is none. So I hit next, it's going to go back. And that is the last line of main. So it is going to come back down to line 13. There's nothing after main. So the program is done. And that is the last step. So that's how functions execute, essentially. We go through and we simply call the functions. And so if you look in here, in this code, that's what we're doing here. Okay, so now you could try this on your own. Here's what I would do. I would open Replit like that and take a look at the code. And you can fork it, meaning if you fork, it's going to open it in your account as opposed to the author's account. And here's what I would suggest you do is that you take this function and you change things. Maybe you take this bar function call and put it before you print. Okay, and then try it. So now if I run the function, what is it going to do? Now here's what we call hand tracing. You will see this later, meaning we're stepping through code, just like it did, the animation did, right? Code execution starts line 1, it creates the frame main, goes to line 6, creates the frame foo, goes to line 10, creates the frame bar, comes to line 13, starts executing, calls the function main, comes to line 1, executes line 2, jumps to function foo, calls bar, doesn't print, calls bar on line 6, jumps to line 10 where bar is, print bar. So from what I've seen, first it should print bar, right? Okay, it's done with that, goes back to the end of line 7, comes to line 8, print foo. It should print foo on the next line. So bar, then foo. When this is done, it will go back to the end of line 2. So we are on line 3. Call bar again. So comes to line 10, print bar. It will print bar. So far we printed bar, foo, bar. You have to write these things down. Otherwise, we're going to lose track of it. It's always a good idea to write things down when you're checking through code like this. After bar, we are going to call foo again. So you come to foo here, and we call bar again. So we jump to bar. So we should see 2 bars right next to each other, and then a foo. So I hope you wrote all this down. If you wrote it all down, and if I'm not mistaken, we should get bar, foo, bar, bar, foo. Let's check. You run it. There we go. Bar, foo, bar, bar, and foo. So again, you can move these things around and try it out for yourself, and that's the best way to learn.